Hello, everyone. This is Shannon Smith. We're on the channel. I'm calling it Comics According to Shan. We're going to be here tonight promoting a couple of Kickstarters and also previewing some of our upcoming projects probably in the next year. Tonight I'll be having David Furr on. He'll be promoting his Kickstarter, which went live earlier today. It's called Thrilling Comics. He previously did the Kickstarter on Indiegogo and did really well with it. And as I'm looking now, it looks like David's fixing to come in. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, David, how's it going with you?
I'm doing good. I like the background you added.
Yeah, it's looking better. I'm learning more about this channel thing every day. But there's a lot more to learn too.
Cool.
Well, hopefully tonight we can get some people to subscribe because we need to get that 100 subscribers pretty quick so we can put a title, Comics According to Shan, in our browser, and that way people can go to it a lot easier because you're not going to memorize all these squiggly lines, that they put in there for our name right now.
Yeah. But, I don't know why they do it that way, but c'est la vie.
Yeah, I mean it's working for them, so I guess they're not going to change it. Anyway, David, I'm going to go ahead and kind of list a few things. Actually, before we start, everyone, please subscribe, share, and like. I mean, that's how we're going to grow the channel. We really need to get to 100 real quick, and then the next plateau will probably be 1,000. So, also tonight we're going to be giving out some free giveaways. So, what I want you to do is, if you, in the channel, in the chat, you need to go in there and you need to put hashtag Blue Inferno, and everyone that does that will be entered into a giveaway, and a random giveaway, and I'll announce it more than likely tomorrow sometime. I'll announce it both on YouTube, and I'll announce it on our campaign for Knox County. Anyway, David, tonight I figured we'd talk about a few things. Obviously, we're going to talk about Thrilling Comics, and we're going to talk about Knox County because both of them are on the schedule. But we've got a full slate of stuff that we're working on besides that.
We got a busy year.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about. I'm gonna go ahead and list off a few things that we got going. A comic called Deities, and there's one called Futura, and then we've got Mobster Graveyard, the new series, and then definitely we're going to talk about Vampire Ninja Ono that David is working on, and then also I believe David has something. Another one called Garn Chronicles. So
yep, that's correct.
I'm going to leave it up to you where we start, David. Where you want to start?
Well, let's check in on what's going on with your campaign on Knox County.
Okay. Knox County. I'll hit the refresh real quick. We're up to 74.98.
And so this is your first week. That's really good.
It is. Although in the last couple of days we've had a downturn. I mean, we've pretty much been at the 7,000 and a little bit for nearly 3 days now. I don't know what's going on. If we're hitting that little stretch where it kind of lulls a little bit after about 7-8 days. I really don't know how to act because on Knox County 1, we didn't really have a lull. I mean, we might have had a half a day lull. I mean, it just kept going up and up, and I'm just wondering if it's because there's so many projects on Kickstarter right now in the comic category. I mean, every day I see another one, and not only is it a lot of campaigns, but it's also there's quite a few with people that have really known names in the business. So
Who are
we'll
some of
see.
the big ones that are going on right now?
I mean, Brian Polito, he has two campaigns going right now. He's got one for La Muerta, and he's got one for Lady Death. And those are, those should be number one every day on Kick Track. And believe it or not, even with his big name, he was like number 18. A couple days ago. I mean, it's just
Huh.
and the way that Kick Track works, it kind of it's not how well you're doing, monetarily at the top. It's how you do daily. I mean, hourly. I mean, you could be number one. One time you look, and the next 2 hours you're down to number 10. And if you drop so far off the chart, you're not going to be on the hot list. And I think that might be a little of what we're experiencing right now, because we keep popping on and off the hot list. And, not a lot of people use Kick Track to do their campaigns, but I'm sure that affects our analytics on Kickstarter, because, either we're at the top of the list for you to see, or we're on page 3 or 4. And then, as you know, David, that's less people see you when you're on page 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the difference between this campaign and the last one is you got to 7,500 really quick this time.
Really quick.
So versus last time, you had a steady incline the whole time. So I definitely don't think the campaign's dead or anything. It's just you got so many backers so quickly that I think you're just seeing a natural lull. But you still got 4 weeks, so I could still see you doing double or more.
Well, the way I see it is that first day. I mean, we probably got, maybe 150 backers. Well, on our campaign 1, we only had 487 backers total. So, we got a big chunk of the backers. And then I noticed that a lot of people are watching us and following us on Kickstarter. And a lot of them, probably about 100 and a half are from the first campaign, and they may just be waiting till the end to help us finish with a flourish. And but we've probably had about 75 or so new backers, maybe. And
that's cool.
So maybe a few more. I don't know. I haven't looked at the
analytics. And I'm one of those guys who I often will be kind of the last one to jump in, even if I know the campaign's there. I just kind of write down that, don't forget to back it, and I'll get the last day. I'm like, oh crap, and I'll back.
Yeah. That's kind of how it is. And then you got some people that they're waiting for a payday or something. We all don't have just massive amount of money in our account, so we have to wait until we have that one payday a week or a month where maybe I don't have rent this week, so maybe I can contribute then. And we really appreciate that. We appreciate anything you can do it. If you can't contribute monetarily, there are many ways you can help us out. You can share it. You can share it like a madman. Share, and any time we do anything, put some likes up. If we post on Facebook or wherever, likes get people looking at it. If we have 1,000 likes, they're like, wow, well, he doesn't get that much. What's going on? So, but it does help, especially in this lull for Knox County. If you can give now, let's try to get it going on the right track. We're doing great. In the first 8 days of our first campaign, I don't even think we got to 5,000. So we were probably around in the 3,000 to 4,000 area.
No, you're the first campaign was very unusual in the fact that it was a steady incline. Like, you never had a big jump, but you were always getting plenty of donors.
Yeah. We'd have a few days where we'd have a big jump. Now one thing that could probably contributed to that was we had original art that we put in occasionally throughout the campaign. This one, we're not doing original art too much. Although I think we may have original art for Matthew Weldon's cover when he finishes it. So, we will have one. Of course, Shannon may like it so much he may want to keep it too. So we'll just have to figure that out when it comes. But we should be getting that from Matthew this coming week. Jerry will get right on it, coloring it, and we may even show a process where you can kind of watch and see how Jerry is coming along on the cover. So I know a lot of people like to see people, do their art on live or whatever, and we'll try to set up something where you can do that. Besides Knox County, let's check out and see what Thrilling is doing. What time did you launch that today, David?
I think it was about 1:32, something like that. It was a late lunch hour I already took.
So we've had a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and let's see if I can figure this out here. Okay.
Let's see, I had it on screen a second ago.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I'm gonna put it on us and it and share screen, Chrome tab. Then we're gonna go to Thrilling. Okay, here's what we got. I guess I could make that bigger and drop us from the screen right now. Okay, there we go. So let's do a big drum roll here. And
did you go away? I don't see you, Shannon. There you are.
Okay, I hit the wrong refresh area. Let's go try that again. I need to get it on screen again, I believe. Yeah, this is fun. See, I tried to tell my wife Jerry that she should be running this while we talk, but
she said, no, like the director of the show.
Yeah, she has she says she's too busy working on coloring Thrilling comics right now to be.
Well, that is really important.
Such. Yeah, it is.
So while you pull that up, I did look at the numbers. It looked like we're at 300 right now, just about.
Yeah.
At 12 backers. So pretty good start.
Here we go.
Our goal is 1,000. So a few hours, we're a third of the way there.
Yeah. Okay, I think I can get it up now.
There you go.
Okay, so looks like we got 12 backers. Thrilling. When you had it on Indiegogo, it steadily went up. It wasn't any gangbusters or whatever. Originally, when we were talking about doing this campaign, we were like, okay, we're nobodies, first of all. So what are we going to do to try to get people to look at us and take us serious? So we decided to contact Chuck Dixon because we knew him through a mutual friend. And so you want to talk a little about, the teams that were put up?
Like you were saying, Chuck Dixon has done some work with NArt Press, and we've done work with NArt Press. So we had not worked with him directly before, but we sort of had worked with him indirectly. So we just sort of bridged the gap and asked him if he'd be willing to contribute to this project. We knew it was right up his alley because he's done actually public domain heroes before. One of his most famous indie projects is Airboy, which is a public domain character from the 40s. So we just approached him. We said, hey, we didn't say, hey, we want you to do the Cat in Black, but we said, here's a lineup of characters that we're interested in doing. He likes this character the most of the list, and so he agreed to do it. So we'd also approached Clint Stoker. Clint is known for a series called Downcast. It's available through Indiegogo. It's actually available right now. He's been doing this for about a year and a half. He's got his third graphic novel out. And he does really well on Indiegogo. We thought his style was really fun. His style of writing was really fun. seemed like he'd be a good guy to do work on a project like this. And so we contacted him and we're like, hey, what do you think about joining in the project? And he thought it was a great idea. This is actually his first time to do superheroes. We're taking a little bit of a chance with him on that because he does, most of what he does is kind of like sci-fi adventure-y, but it's kind of superhero-esque. So we knew it'd be a good transition for him. But yeah, everything he's done so far had been more on the indie style. And we just said, hey, how about doing a good old-fashioned superhero? So, and like with Chuck, we just kind of showed him a list of characters we were interested in using. And so he picked Silver Streak. He liked Silver Streak's origin. After he kind of went over and reviewed the characters, there's something about the Silver Streak origin he just really liked. So he wanted to take that one and run with it.
Yeah, Quinn actually, I kind of like what he wrote. He's kind of getting into the head of the character instead of just not what's happening to them, on the outside.
Very literally in this case, because he's playing with the idea. The original Silver Streak had this sort of guru character who gave him his powers or helped him with his powers, and he uses that character in this story, but he makes him like a psychic entity. That's like literally like in his head. So you get a lot of introspective with the Silver Streak character in this.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does with the character throughout this is going to be a 3-issue anthology.
Each story is 24 pages full, but they're broken down in 3 chapters, 8 pages each. So I mean, they could basically be each published as a standalone book, but we're doing it as an anthology.
Yes.
As far as using the Black Terror, actually, I had originally developed the story to be a part of Exciting Comics. As many of y'all who are familiar with me know, I was working with Exciting Comics essentially back at the beginning. I was one of the first writers to work on the title. Where I was doing a character called Crimson Scorpion, and we talked about bringing in Black Terror. There was a decision at the time, though, to kind of move away from using public domain characters and just try to use more originals. So we decided to not use the Black Terror story. So I'm like, well, it's a cool story, I thought. So I'm like, we can use it for our project.
Yeah, you had already written the story for them, and they came down with the hammer and said, no, we're not going to use it for now. Good story, but we're trying to stay away from. I believe that one of the smaller companies, Boom or someone like that, had actually gotten some kind of rights to the Black Terror or the name or something.
Well, okay, so I can answer that question. I did a little research on that. Is it? Oh no, I just drew. Oh, Dynamite.
Dynamite. I knew it was
Dynamite's
Boom
known for doing
Boom and Dynamite. They kind of go together. They ought to merge.
Dynamite's known for doing a lot of Golden Age themed stuff. Golden Silver Age themed. Not really superhero books. They did, for the most part. They don't do superheroes, but they do a lot of other titles, and they have done some. I guess you could call it superhero stuff. They did I think they did Zorro for a while. They did Green Hornet for a while as well. But anyway, so they decided at one point to do a superhero line that was based exclusively on a lot of the public domain characters, Black Terror being one of them. Now, the reason that you see a lot of people use Black Terror is because he is public domain, meaning that he's not copyrightable. No one can own the character anymore. But what you can do with these characters is you can do variations. Add something unique to the character, and you can own that version, but you can't own the original version. So our uniqueness is that this is not Bob Benton, the original Black Terror. Although I did use the original Black Terror in an Exciting Comics story in the Extravaganza, but these are the grandkids of not Black Terror, but Kid Terror. So, and characters I've made up, so totally original on that, other than the fact they are based on the legacy of the original Black Terror. As far as what Dynamite owns, they don't actually own anything, but they do have the trademark on the Black Terror name. Trademarks are a little weird. If someone has a trademark, doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means there's certain rules about what they own in regards to that. So they have a version of the trademark or a version of Black Terror logo that's unique to them. So we can't use that.
Can you use Black Terror on the cover? The words?
Yes, you can use the words on the cover, but it's how you use the words.
Gotcha.
In this case, we're actually just not putting the word Black Terror on the cover at all.
Yeah.
But like again, if you want to look at an example, like I can't do screen share, I don't think, or can I? Actually, I might be able to. Well, I don't want to try to figure that out in the live stream. I'll have to do that for next time.
Probably a bad idea.
But there's so this week, because it's actually very relevant to this discussion, Eric Larson released a comic called The Ant. He was doing a series called The Ant back in the 2000s, and he, whatever reason, it got canceled. And so 14 years later, he decided to bring it back, and I think actually just bring it back to conclude it. The reason I mention that, though, is in this issue that came out this week, on the cover, you see Daredevil. Now, obviously not Matt Murdock Daredevil. This is the public domain version from the 1940s. Yeah. A completely different character than the Marvel version. Nothing in common except for the name. And the public domain Daredevil is public domain, but the name Daredevil is trademarked, obviously, by Marvel. So it gets tricky how you do that. And what Eric did on this issue is he went ahead and put the name Daredevil on the cover, but he used the original fonts and format of the public domain version. So I don't know how broad Disney's trademark is on the name, but also Daredevil's a common word. It's not just superhero. Yeah. And again, they did use Daredevil like the original version that you see him on the cover. It's got the color schemes even the same. So something like that. That's a way basically they were able to get away with putting it on the cover and not have any problems with Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're doing the Black Terror story. Who's your artist on that?
So it's your guy, Alex, who's doing Knox County.
Yeah.
So he was we caught him when he was between issues of Knox, I think, and he just knocked this one out pretty quick. Excellent art. Do you want to? I gave you some of the pages in the share folder. You want to show some of those?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to our Dropbox. That one's not it. I believe it's here. And we're going to, which one was it?
All right. I put it in a folder called Black Terror.
It's in the Thrilling. Okay.
Yeah. Thrilling Black Terror.
Okay. And then I have to go in here and we'll take this down, stop screen, and then we will share screen.
So while I was doing that for you guys out there, so the Black Terror story is done as far as it's got everything except for the lettering. I thought I had it lettered already. And then when I was putting the colors together this week, I was, hey, I'm not done with the lettering, but I'm going to knock that out this week.
Yep. So here's one of the pages.
That's page 1.
And now, is this referring back to the extravaganza of Siding Comics here?
It is. So the original story actually ties in with what we were doing with extravaganza. And it even ties in a little bit to the Crimson Scorpion story. There's at the last chapter, you're going to see a brief tease to Crimson Scorpion. And the Crimson Scorpion is a character I own. He's not an AP character. I only published him with AP at this point. But so I had a license to use him for our own stuff. Now this page, while it's an introduction page, not necessarily exciting with the layout. I really like the colors in this one. The colorist, his name is Nimesh Maraji. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. Sorry, Nimesh, if I am.
I definitely like the glow from the computer there. Nice job.
Yeah. If you tag along with the other pages, you'll see the actual Black Terror.
Okay. I think you got a scrub to color this one, didn't you?
So Shannon did that one himself. When we were getting the original campaign started, we didn't really have a color at the time for Black Terror, so Shannon stepped in and got this page done for me. So that's a splash page, which is why you see the dimensions are different. So it's actually page 2 and 3.
Yes, it's a splash page, yes.
So again, so Alex Benozzi, who did the art on that, and Nimesh Maraji, who did the colors. So I really like what the story.
He did here. Yeah.
This one's great. So the name of this plot is Twice the Terror, and when you read it, you'll figure out why.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to spoil anything for that. So it's modern day status. It's based on the premise that Black Terror was around the 1940s. And if you've read the Extravaganza, the Exciting Comics Extravaganza, it does tie into that universe. That one took place in the 1970s, but this is modern. So I wrote it before the pandemic. So no mention of the of COVID in it, but
yeah,
I guess you could say it takes place during about the pandemic.
Yeah, we'll always remember.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually read it's kind of chasing a little rabbit, but I read a comic 2 weeks ago that just came out that actually is set in the pandemic. And it's the first time I'd actually read like a modern comic where they addressed the pandemic. And it was done just very factual. It's like, they don't really talk about it, but you got people wearing masks out in public, and things like that you just see these days. And it was just kind of weird just to read something that was pop culture and say, oh, yeah, okay.
I've actually seen a few comics with it in it too. And I'm like, okay, they're getting with the times, and now everyone's putting away their masks. So they could have probably just skipped over and it would have been okay. I'm surprised we haven't had a big story in comics that had dealt with the, COVID with all the loss of life and everything.
And I've read a fair amount of Marvel and DC. I mean, there's a lot more I don't read than I do, but like in that, in the main comic lines, I've not seen any reference at all to it. But it's always kind of weird when you're dealing with the major comic lines because, they're in Marvel, they've got Thanos trying to wipe out half the universe all the time. So something like the coronavirus is not really going to seem near as threatening as what they have to deal with in that Average Tuesday.
I have noticed that they're supposedly bringing back Onslaught, so we'll see what happens with there.
Yes, you're right. They're doing that. They're doing that in the Way of X storyline, I think.
Yeah. Because I noticed the other day that the issue 53 of X-Men is like skyrocketing right now. It's like $50-$60, and that's his first appearance.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they haven't already brought him back because the whole concept right now of what the X universe is doing is that all the mutants now are supposed to be on the same side. There's not any more evil mutants.
No,
so I guess
Professor X and Magneto. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not even just them because they've had them team up before, but you've literally got Apocalypse leading the mutants now with Professor X. Like
that's crazy. That is insane.
And Mr. Sinister. I mean, basically everybody you could think of as like a bad mutant that's known is on the good guy. So I mean, in the age of Apocalypse, Onslaught was, still only second to Apocalypse. The fact that they've got him on the council says a lot. But I guess that they're figured like, well, we should probably still see if like one mutant goes evil, and they're going to bring Onslaught into it because he has not been in the story up to this point.
I'm sure that they're all getting along, and they don't have their own agendas, right?
Well, the one they play the most is they show Mr. Sinister is like he's so obviously like just going along for his own goals.
Yeah.
But he's got to play ball with the rest of the mutants to be able to do what he wants to. So
taken care of. Yes.
Yeah. And with Apocalypse, the whole thing with Apocalypse is he's pretty much a purist. So Apocalypse, he just wants basically the survival of the fittest, and he sees that what they're doing in the X-Men timeline right now does kind of align with that goal. So even though it doesn't involve like the level of like destruction as he does when he's on his own, he still seems like, yeah, cool. I can go with this. It's kind of low key, but it gets the job done. So he doesn't seem to really have any issue. But then you got the Hellfire Club. So who knows what those guys are really up to? And
yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and break in here and remind everybody to subscribe, share, and like. I mean, even if you're watching a replay of this, go to our YouTube channel and just subscribe. I mean, we need you badly right now. We're trying to grow this channel, and we're sitting at 20 or 30 people, in the channel right now, and we got to hit that 100 just to at least look legit and make it easier for people to find us. So do those things for us. Now, David, there was one other project. Well, there's multiple projects. But on Thrilling Comics, we had one more story that was added.
Yes. So because we hit our goal, and we were doing the Indiegogo, we decided to go ahead and add a bonus story for the first issue. So Shan, why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. I've been working with John Rhodes. He's known for Nothing Man, which he crowdfunded, and he's doing really well with Nothing Man. Great story, and but I got with him. I wanted to create a new Black Terror, and I'm like, I don't know why Black Terror is always on my mind. It's like my favorite public domain character. So I gave him some ideas on what I wanted to do. He's an artist. He's a great writer also. But I gave him the character on what I wanted to do, and he said, "What if we made this a female?" And I said, "Yeah, you're good at drawing women, and I'll let him run with it, And he created us a character that just kicks butt. I mean, you're gonna love this character. But what I did story wise is basically she obviously she's a superhero vigilante type person. She's on the par of the Punisher kind of thing more than Superman, But she goes in and a bank is being robbed, and she goes in there and she takes out all these guys, just bam, 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 done, And I wanted to show you a page that John drew, and I spent about a month inking this. I'm not I don't ink a lot anymore. I used to, but this took me a month off and on to ink it, and originally it was supposed to be 2 pages, and it was going to be all paneled out. He said, "What if I just made that into one big page?" And I said, "Well, I trust you, So I'm going to show you what he did with this page. As soon as I find it. Okay, I'm going to hit share. Share screen, and it's going there. Here it is. Okay. Whoops. Did I lose it? I thought I had it. Okay. Here's what we're going to have. Thought I had it already set.
Oh, yes, this page. I remember this one.
Okay. So this character's name originally was going to be, Black Terror or whatever. But we're leaning towards calling her Tempest, because she's the eye of the storm, baby. I mean, she takes out these guys, and he drew this page, and it took me forever to ink, and it turned out really well. I can hardly wait to see what Jerry does with colors on this. But this character is gonna be hot, guys, and her first appearance will be in Thrilling Comics #1.
Get it while you can.
Get it while you can. I mean, right now you should be thinking about going over and just throwing in a little bit of contribution there to Thrilling Comics. I'm sure David would appreciate it, and I'm sure all the people he paid will feel better taking his money because he's getting it back.
Right. Yeah. And yeah. So this, for those who are interested in backing it, this is going to be the same issues that were available in Indiegogo. So it's basically, yes, these will all be the same part of the first print run. I'll be printing these all together when I send out the Indiegogo rewards. The only difference is that we did hold one cover back for the Indiegogo campaign, because it was billed as being an Indiegogo exclusive. Mm-hmm. So there is we had 5 covers in the Indiegogo campaign, and this has for Kickstarter we're just doing 4 of the covers. The 4 covers we're doing obviously the main cover, which is the one you'll see with the green banner on it when you go to our campaign. Yeah. And then we did a cover featuring each of the characters. So we have a Black Terror cover, we have a Cat in Black, and we have a Silver Streak cover. Yeah. John Rhodes, who did the art for this Tempest story, Shannon's showing you, did the Cat in Black cover. We got Alex, who did the Black Terror story inside. He did the cover as well. And then we got a friend of ours, Mark Henry, volunteered to do the Silver Streak cover. Mark Henry, you would know him from Frontier Graveyard if you followed our projects at all. That being one of our original, he was the artist in that.
Gotcha. Well, I also want to let everyone know that Knox County had such a a great experience with the holofoil covers that I talked David into offering them for Thrilling Comics also. So
yes, so each cover will be available in regular or holo format, just like with what Shannon did with Knox County. It's the same printer, so if you really like the holofoils that you got from Knox, you'll really like these as well.
Yeah. Well, on Knox right now, we're getting Matthew Weldon to do that cover for us, and I posted the other day what it looked like. He has already done a sketch on it, and then got to talking to him the other night, and he goes, I said, is this cover supposed to be a wraparound, or can we adjust it to make it into a wraparound? He said, yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. It really doesn't fit for what we're doing, so he's gonna redraw that, and we'll have to wait and see what he does with that. But I'm thinking very, very possibly that I'm going to try to get a chrome cover of that. Now I found a place online that I can get the chrome covers, but I'm actually trying to find a place for chromium covers. So if anyone knows anything about, I want like a chromium embossed cover even. If we don't use it on these campaigns that we have up now, it's definitely in the works for issues 3 and 4 of Knox County and future Thrilling Comics. But I did hear the other day that Clint Stoker, I finally heard him say what company he used for printing, and I went to them, and they do a lot of that stuff. They do the embossing, and so I'm just going to see if they can do a chromium cover or a chrome cover embossed. It may only be embossed on the lettering. I don't know quite yet what they do. I'm going to have to get a hold of them, but I'm definitely wanting to trick up my books in the future 90s style. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, that'd be really awesome. That would.
We're still looking for glow in the dark covers if anyone knows about them.
Yeah.
I like to read my comic in the dark. I like to read my comic in the dark.
Especially with Knox. I mean, being a horror comic.
Oh, yeah.
Glow in the Dark was made for horror.
Yeah, definitely. But you want to talk about, one of the things you got coming up right now or in the near future is a story that you used a character named Futura. And
yes.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, and maybe I can show you some pictures if I can work this while you talk.
Sure. So I threw those in the Dropbox for us just to have to talk about as well. So Futura is this is something I'm actually doing for Anart Press. I was commissioned to do the story by Ben Dunn. For those of you familiar with what AP's doing right now, they have a series of titles which are all public domain oriented, but not just superheroes. So Exciting Comics was their first, but they also branched out. They are doing Jungle Comics, which had also Chuck Dixon in it, and they are doing Planet Comics, which was a sci-fi series back in the 1940s as well. It's very popular, ran for a long time, but it's been out of print since, I don't know the exact date, like 46, 47, something like that. So it's been forever. So that was, they decided they want to do things in different themes. They also did a series called Horror Comics, which isn't really public domain themed, but it's another anthology. So they had a horror, they had a jungle, superhero, and sci-fi. So the idea with Planet is that Ben really wanted to have that old-fashioned feel to bring back those sort of campy, exciting space opera type stories that you would read back then. So what I did when he talked to me about doing a story is like, well, why don't I actually just bring a character back from the original Planet comics? So I looked around. There's about 4 or 5 that were regulars throughout the years that Planet Comics was going on, but I picked Futura. So Futura is a character. She's kind of a female Flash Gordon a little bit. Her origin, and this is the origin from the actual original Planet comics, is that she was a human who was abducted by aliens. She was considered to be like very normal, like she lived in a sort of Orwellian society where everyone was classified what they could do for a living based on like certain stats that they proved, and like she was known for being completely unremarkable in every way. But these aliens abduct her, and they were basically wanting to recycle her body to basically be a host body for them because their race is dying and they're stealing people to use their bodies. When they're experimenting on her to see if they can use her body, her full potential gets activated. So she's not superhuman. It's not quite like that, but it's just she became very smart. She became, really fit and, just a good fighter. So basically just like, the best kind of person a person could be. And she was able to use that to free herself from the aliens. And then she tried to get back to Earth and just went on a series of space adventures during the meantime. So her story was never concluded in Planet because Planet got canceled. It was brought to a stopping point. So it wasn't like really a cliffhanger, but it was basically implied there was going to be more. So I decided to actually just take the story and run with it. So I do, and it'll be in Planet Comics #4. It's going to be a one-shot, 24 pages. It's just a single story that just kind of shows kind of a what if future I kept going, kind of a what's next. I do a couple of pages of recap in there for people who've never heard of the character before. So you'll get a quick rundown on her origin, and then I just kind of take it and run. The story had left where she had met a group of aliens. Now they look completely human, but they're technically aliens. They were called the Birdmen of Alpha 12, and they didn't actually have wings. Their wings were technology based. Like I said, they just looked humans. But she had met them in the last issue of of Planet. She'd met them, and their leader had tried to force her to marry him, and she got in a fight with him, and the leader gets accidentally killed by her. She doesn't try to kill him, but he ends up falling to his death. And the bird people are a warrior race, so it's like, survival of the fittest. She killed the king, so she gets to be the queen. So they appoint her to be her ruler. And that's what the story left with, her being appointed ruler of this people. And the son of the ruler was like scheming to kill her, but, we never saw what happened. Gotcha. So that's where I picked the story up.
So is this going to be a Kickstarter also?
That's a good question. So Ben Dunn is running this project. Like I said, I was commissioned to do this one. So it's kind of up to him. He was originally going to kickstart it, actually right now. He would have been running it originally like late May or in June, but he ended up rearranging his project. So he was doing some Ninja High School stuff instead, and then next month he's going to go ahead and do Oh No, which is a much bigger project.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. So this will be a Planet Comics #4. It may, if Ben does do it as a campaign, it'll be Kickstarter. It'll be fed through his. It'll have the interiors will be the same story, but you'll get different choices of like alternate cover art. Through Planet Comics, it's actually being solicited right now. I don't know if that preview came out this week or it's next week, but it's the next month's preview. You'll actually see Planet Comics #4. You'll see this, and as well as Ono, which is going to be for AP. They're not printing Ono as its own title. They're going to print it just part of 4. But you'll see there's a big splash page ad for. Well, it's not a full splash page, but for AP they only have a small section, so it's pretty big ad for them. For the Horror Comics #7, which will have Ono in it, and both those come out for shipping in September, I believe it is. So the preview's out now, or will be out very soon, and the comics will come out probably to the end of the month of September. I'm curious, who was the artist and the colorist for this? Because I'm digging this.
So the artist, I always space out on his name. His first name is Marcio. Let me give you his last name real quick. Alonso. Marcio Alonso.
Yeah.
Ben found him. He I don't know how Ben found him, but Ben, that's what Ben does. It's part of his job, find good talent. So he found him, and the colorist is Lonnie Webb, who
Oh, Lonnie. He is improving by the day. I can see that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Now this is and you can really tell this is where he really brought his A game to this project. He's, for those of you who don't know Lonnie Webb, Mostly he's known for being a colorist through AP. He's done this. He's done some other stuff. Off the top of my head, I'm not honestly sure which projects he's colored, but I know he has done some others for AP. I think he did Science is Magic, the latest issues. He also does a little writing for AP because he wrote the last issue of Science is Magic, which is a project that Ben created.
Yeah.
And Shan and I know him because he's up here in North Texas with us when we actually go to AP's office.
Yeah.
We actually get a chance to meet him.
I do recall John Rhodes used him on Fat Girl, I believe.
Right.
He did the first issue of that, and I look at what he did in that one, which was good, but this is like he's doubling up the effort here, and it really looks good. Now the artist on this, I'll tell you, this reminds me of Paris Cullens. He used to do Blue Devil back in the day. And with the colors and the character styles, it's very reminiscent of Paris Cullens. And he's one of my favorites. So that's probably why I'm digging this.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Like I said, I was not familiar with this artist at all until he started turning in pages. Ben just told me he had a name, and he said, "Yeah, this guy's good. Don't worry about it." So
yeah.
But then I did the lettering on this. So as the pages were coming in, he was sending the pages to me, and I was like, "Oh wow, I really like this guy." So I actually, once this was done, AP may do more futurist stories in the future. It's just not decided yet. We're all busy with other stuff, which we'll talk about as well. So we're kind of shifting to other projects in the meantime. But Marcio, I told Marcio, I'm like, hey, so if you're not working with AP, give me a call. I want to work with you. So since AP was taking a break from Future briefly, I grabbed him for working on the project that I'm doing now. A backup story for my upcoming project. So I got a project I'm working on. It's going to be my baby. The working title for it is Garn Chronicles. I say working because that was the name of the original series. Yeah. I will change the name for this relaunch to something that's a little more commercial friendly. But but anyway, so Garn Chronicles is a sci-fi epic, it's kind of a mashup of like Star Wars and Dune, and Babylon 5. I say Babylon 5 because if you watch the show, it had this very conspiratorial edge to it. There's like wars and stuff that were going on, but there's like a whole sort of scheme as to what was really going on in the background. And my story is a lot like that in that regards, but it's set in a galaxy that's not Earth. I don't really get into anything really supernatural. So there's nothing like the Force or anything like that. It's pretty much, I guess the technology you could compare to it being Star Trek, but the look of Star Wars as far as all the crazy aliens and there not being any Earth. Anyway, so I'm working on this story. I don't have pages to show yet. It's actually drawn, but I'm getting the colors. I'm going to hold back and showing any art till I get some colors. I'm doing a backup story for that, which is called Deities, and that's something Shannon and I had worked on together many years ago. And so I commissioned Marcio to do the backup story for Deities, and I think I did give you some pages for that. You could show.
Yes. Actually, I kind of want to go back. I don't know where that's coming from. I kind of want to go back and show some of the stuff from Thrilling Comics first.
Okay, sure.
We have some pictures or some pics here for, let's see, Thrilling. Okay. Nope. Wrong one. Back to StreamYard. Share. We'll show a couple of Cat and Black pictures here.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Okay.
Then this is the Chuck Dixon story that's in the Thrilling Comics. So the artist for this is Joseph Alesco. You're probably most familiar with him if you're working with me on Crimson Scorpion, if you followed my work earlier. He's also worked with John Rhodes on, what is it, The Owling?
The Last Owling. And it looks really good. I believe that will be shipping out in the next couple of weeks. He's got all of the books and everything in. So that should be coming to everyone that contributed to that campaign. So, yeah, he's excited about that.
So yeah, Joseph was real excited to do the Cat in Black because he's a fan of Chuck Dixon. Yeah. And when I approached him, I was already working with him on Crimson Scorpion. I'm like, hey, you want to work with someone more famous than me?
Which could be anybody at this point, right?
Pretty much. But I told him, I mean, I wasn't sure. I didn't know, because Joseph lives in the Philippines and there's a big comic market there, but I don't know anything about the Filipino comic market. So I didn't know, I know Chuck Dixon's pretty famous, but I had no idea if his fame translated to there, but it apparently did. So he was quite excited when I told him who it was.
Yeah, and then who's your colorist on this? Anyone I know?
Jerry Lou Smith.
Oh, wow.
Someone we both know
I
very
do know
well.
her. Cool. She's doing a great job. I think she finished up the 3rd page, so she's only got about 5 more to do. So, and that'll be ready, and then she'll be working on the Tempest story for Thrilling, and I still have about 2 more pages to ink, and then she'll get in there. I go in and I flat color it for her, and then she takes it and works her magic.
Oh yeah, so she did an excellent job on this. That's very nice. Some of her best work.
Yes.
I know she had a lot of fun with this character as well. And that's one thing about the Cat in Black is that everyone who worked on it, that's that thing everyone says. It's just a really fun story.
Yeah, well, Chuck's story. I mean, when you showed me the script for it, I'm like, why can't I do it? A script like this. I mean, it is highly detailed. You know exactly what you're supposed to draw. I mean, the mood lighting, whatever. He paints a picture with his words for sure.
Yeah, and it reads kind of like if you saw the original script, it reads kind of like a movie script.
Yes. And then next, I think we're going to show some Silver Streak. We talked about this earlier. And who's your artist on this, David?
This is Carlos Tron.
Yes.
Carlos Tron is, or at least I'm most familiar with him through his work on Exciting Comics, which is where I met him. He was originally working with Bradley Golden on the Blackjack story, which is part of the original run of the AP Exciting Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's done a lot of other things. But I don't have my notes in front of me, so I can't tell you what he's done. But he's been around now. I can tell you one thing he does that's not comics is he actually does some work for Disney.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons the Blackjack story in Exciting Comics kind of got pushed back is because Disney had him going strong for them. So this artwork is amazing, and Carlos always does a great job. Who's your colorist on this, David?
This is Nimesh, who it was doing the Black Turf story as well.
Gotcha. Great. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, really pleased.
I think we got one more page here.
That's a splash page there.
That's a splash page, and wow, that's a good looking page there.
So yeah, and Carlos kind of helped come up with his new look for Silver Streak. Mm-hmm. We weren't really sure originally how we wanted to do this. Clint didn't really have any specific attachment to the look. What Clint wanted was he wanted a year zero look. He wanted to look a guy who was trying to be a superhero but didn't know how to do it.
Exactly.
So he wanted him wearing as you can see here, it's like he's got knee pads and leggings and it's just kind of like a mask he just pulls over his face like a pandemic mask almost.
Yeah, whatever he could find in his closet or dresser.
Pretty much. So you think about that from a practical standpoint, it doesn't sound cool, but if you got a really good artist, they can make it look cool.
Yeah.
So Carlos really made that come to life.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, okay. So I just got to thinking, and I'm like, hey, we didn't go over, two of the other stories in Thrilling Comics. So I think it's a good idea to go back and kind of fill people in on that. We're kind of jumping around a little more than we should, but we're not professionals. We do this for fun.
And the Silver Streak story is completely done. I'm just going to make some adjustments to the letter, but it's all been colored and everything. So,
gotcha.
So for those out there wondering the status of the project, it's mainly just down to getting the colors done for Cat in Black and the Tempest story. And me finishing.
So you're waiting on us. You're waiting on Jerry and I. Not that we have anything else to do, but it's we've got everything ready for Knox 2. We're going to set it aside while we're finishing up Thrilling, and then we're going to get back to work on finishing the colors, and from there on Knox. So
how much of Knox 2 has been colored at this point?
Oh, I think about all the covers that are done except for Matthew and our X cover, which we added this week. We added metallic covers for people to get, and we also added Matthew Weldon's cover. So
cool.
That one, she has to color that one. But anyway, we offered dealer packs also, and with the dealer packs, you'll get an assortment of some of the comics that you can get singly on there, and then also each dealer pack, when you buy 8 or when you buy 9, you'll get a cover X, which we actually show on there, but it's in black and white right now. So cool. every pack of 10 books will include the cover X, which is the only way you can get them is through the dealers packs. I've had a lot of dealers here and overseas saying, "Hey, I want to carry it in my store," and I'm like, the best I can do is make you dealers packs. So Kickstarter's got to get their cut. They're good to me, so I'm going to be good to them. But and then the funny thing is I had a guy just the other day. He emailed me. I haven't even responded to him yet. So he emailed me saying that he wanted to publish our book, and
nice.
It's not a big company name. No one would know it, but it's nice to see that someone is reacting well to it.
Yeah.
And, we do know that right now, as far as publishing our book, it's looking like Antarctic Press, but we've had interest from other places too. We've had Second Sight Studios, Bradley Golden. He's expressed interest in publishing our book, and also I've been talking to some artists that work for heavy metal, and not that heavy metal has said they want our book, but the artists basically say, "Hey, if you take it to him, they'll more than likely publish it." So, that could be true, and that could not be true. Who knows?
Well, I think he's got a good chance. Actually, I think it'd be a good book for heavy metal.
Well, one of the colors that I was talking to at the time was, I don't know if y'all know his name or not, is Ryan Brown. He does a lot of exclusive covers for Marvel right now. So,
oh, cool.
And he did some for DC. I think he did that really wicked looking Joker cover a couple of years ago. But I was showing him some of Knox. I've been sharing it to everyone. I shared it to Tuck Dixon and whoever will listen to me. And I shared it to them, and they're like, "Yeah, it looks great." And but he said that he's done a lot of work for Ryan Brown has done a lot of work for heavy metal, and he said he didn't think I'd have a problem getting in with them one way or another. And I know now that they're actually doing comics, but
right.
I still haven't checked too much into that. I'm thinking they're starting to lean towards web comics, is what I've read more of than actual paper comics.
Well, it's what's going on with the distribution right now is so weird that I can see why someone like them might be a little hesitant to venture too far into print.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's. I'm saving the best one for last, so we'll talk about Vampire Ninja Ona, probably the last thing we do. Let's see. Next on the list is let's see here.
Oh, you were going to show some of the art for deities.
Oh, yes, deities. Okay. Let's see if Shannon can figure that out.
And to backtrack for our audience, this is also the same artist when we were talking about Planet Comics, who did that as well. I really like his style for sci-fi. Deities is it's a sci-fi story, but it's not spacey like Futura or my Chronicle story is. Deities is set in the distant future. Well, actually not the too distant future, about 100 years or so in the future. The Earth gets conquered by these alien-like beings that claim to be gods. And they do have, like, if you can think of, like, Marvel Comics supervillains that are godlike, if they were to come to Earth and declare themselves to be gods, that's kind of what this is. No superheroes though, so humanity's kind of built this on their own. So this is an idea that Shannon pitched to me many, many years ago, and we developed together back in the mid '90s. So he kind of came. He had the basic idea, I want to do something with gods, and so I came up with some characters that could fill it out, and here it is.
Gotcha. It's that takes us back to mid to late '90s. I know.
Yeah, we actually did publish an issue of Deities in 1998, self-published. Wasn't I mean it was not carried through distributors. I mean, some stores carried it because we sold it directly, but it wasn't really very good. It was a bunch of young people trying their best.
Yes.
Before there were any digital, before digital printing was really a thing, and everyone was still drawing things by hand. And yeah.
Well, our best wasn't really good enough, but it got us into the field kind of sorta and whet our appetite for what we're doing now.
It was a great learning experience. I mean, it was worth doing just so we could mostly learning things not to do, but it doesn't matter. You've got to learn things like that too. Yeah. And it's just kind of fun. Actually, probably when I do the campaign for Garn, I'm going to offer up copies of the original one. It's kind of a.
I thought about that. Yeah, our very first comic was I hate to say it was a comedy of errors, but if we were going to do it, we probably didn't do it right. It was. But I still look back on it fondly because, I mean, we worked hard to get that done in every facet of it. I mean, we had to work for about a year in order just to get the money, So.
Yeah, because back then there was no kablams printing. It was, if you did printing back then, it was all offset, which means to make it even worth your while, you had to print like a short print run. At the least would be 500, but 1,000 is going to be normal, which is what we did. We printed thousands of these, and we did it in black and white. The cover was the only part that was color. And I mean, basically, if you've heard the stories about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how they got Teenage Mutant Turtles going, we had to go through a lot of that. Only our idea just wasn't as good and didn't take off. But I mean, as far as like the kind of stuff they had to do to get the book printed and all the work they had to do, I mean, even because if you go back and look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, like a first printing of it. It's really kind of crappy, to be honest.
Yeah,
but that's what you could do back then.
Yeah, theirs was black and white, just like ours. So
and their cover was even black and white. We used to have the full cover on ours. But I mean, but you look at what they did back then, and for people who aren't Marvel and DC, I mean, you had to have major backing. Now there were some indie publishers back in the day that put out books kind of like what Marvel and DC did that were smaller, but they had a lot of money behind them to do something like that. But these days, even without Kickstarter, I mean, if you can save up a couple of $1,000s to pay an artist, you can print up 100 books yourself for not a lot of money and do something like this in full color. So it's much, much easier these days. The biggest costs, for those of you who've not done a campaign like what Shan and I are doing, your two biggest costs are your talent, paying your art team, letterist, editors, whoever. And then, of course, printing is still a big cost, but it's a lot more doable. You don't have to save up like $3,000 to print 1,000 copies. If you want to only print like 100 or even less of a book, you can do that for a lot more reasonable rate. But the print cost is still expensive on the percent. So you don't necessarily have to have as much money up front as you used to back in the offset days. But the ratio to what the book costs, the fewer you print, the more expensive a single book is to print.
Yeah, print on demand really changed the game for independents like us. Back in the day, we'd have to say, "Hey, we need 1,000 copies," and they'd say, "Hey, it's going to be $5 an issue." Well, what if we got 2,000 copies? Well, it's going to be, $3.90 or something like that. So the more we printed, the better deal we got. But now, I mean, you can go to places like Kablam and get a copy made for around $3, print on demand, whatever amount you want almost. So even on the foil covers that we're doing, I mean, if you buy more, you'll get a little bit more off, but it's not significant what you get off. Unless you're printing in 5, 6, 10,000, whatever. I'm sure you could get a hefty discount on that. But in the numbers where we're doing 100 to 200, tops, then it's it's really affordable for what it is.
Yeah, the problem with doing it's actually still true if you use offset, which is actually still better. Not night and day, very small variations at this point. But if you can do offset, I'd already recommend it. However, the problem with doing offset is that it's the old-fashioned way of setting up plates.
Yeah.
That they're pressing the image to. So that for the printer, it's effort. Create the plates, set them up. So they're not going to do that for. Well, I mean, they could do it for like 1 or 2 copies, but they're going to charge you the same amount to do 1 or 2 copies that they would charge you for like 500 copies. So with digital print, all digital print is it's basically just fancy copiers. Yeah. They're copiers that can print on the kind of paper and the high enough quality that they could compete with offset stuff. That's the only difference. And back in the 90s, you had copiers, but you didn't have copiers that could do that grade. They could really do that level. But around the end of the 20th century, first part of the 21st century, they got where copiers were really actually good enough. You could do that. So now all they have to do is just take the files you send them. So you prepare the plates, so to speak, in the sense that you're setting up the computer files, and all they have to do is just take it and print it. So, I mean, for them, it's just as much trouble to print 1 as it is to print 1,000. It's not any extra work for them. Commercially, they don't want to mess with low print runs, so they'll not give you really good prices if you do really, really small print runs. But I mean, you don't have that big setup cost, so that's why it's better these days.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a Mobster Graveyard, which we printed a series and Antarctic Press put it out about a year and a half ago. So we decided to do a second series of it, and we got Alex Benhosi to do that. He's the artist from a lot of our projects now.
Knox County, of course.
yeah, and we really like Alex anyway. He's a really good guy and a very talented artist. But I'll have David talk to you about it a little bit while I run the pictures here.
Sure. So I don't know if any of y'all out there are familiar with Mobster Graveyard already. This is a series we kickstarted a few years ago. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and we did the first 3 issues as Kickstarters. And then in 2018, Antarctic Press agreed to print the series. So 2018, and I think it concluded in the early 2019, we did the 5 issues with AP. So Mobster Graveyard it's sort of like X-Files, but no aliens, just focusing on like monsters and stuff like that, set in the Chicago era of the 1920s, the Prohibition era of Chicago. We use actual historical characters and events. Al Capone is a character. He did not appear in the original miniseries, but he is going to appear in this version. So it just kind of follows through with like, what if the mob was into some shady stuff that also happened to be supernatural of origin? So that's the concept in a nutshell. The story will follow some detectives, this sort of hard-boiled, the old-fashioned detective from like the 1940s, like Humphrey Bogart type character, as he uncovers a mystery and discovers the supernatural elements that the Capone's gang is working in. So it's got things like zombies and vampires, werewolves. The werewolves won't appear in this particular story, but it's the idea that, like, just imagine what would happen if the mob got in with all that stuff. So it's still the mob from history. It's still Al Capone. Al Capone's not a supernatural monster. He's just a guy. But what if he were to go and hire a monster? I guess you could kind of say that.
Exactly. For those of you who contributed to Knox County 1, we had a little 4-page story in there called Joe Mummy. Well, Joe Mummy is in the Mobster Graveyard universe. So look forward to seeing more stories in Mobster Graveyard, including him and a lot of other characters that we're presently creating.
Yes. So if you read the original miniseries, there was a character called Ned Hollister in there who had a habit of dying and not dying at the same time. He'd get killed and then suddenly show up the next issue. Yep. So Shannon's going to have Joe Mummy go after that character and discover just what makes him so hard to kill.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking that, my first story in Knox County 1, the Joe Mummy, I think it's leading in that direction in general. So also to remind people that even though we haven't publicized Joe Mummy being in issue 2 yet, because we don't have pages yet, we're finishing up other projects, and Alex is kind of busy on that. But in the issue 2, you'll get another 4 to 6 pages of that in Knox County 2. So you'll continue the story of Joe Mummy there, and who knows, he might pop up in Mobster Graveyard Series 3 or whatever down the road. He's a really cool character. I enjoy creating and writing him. I'm sure David would like to get his hands on him to put his little twist to him. As long as you don't kill him, David, okay? He's not a detective. He's just a guy.
He's already dead, so I can't kill him, right? He's a mummy.
Haven't said he's dead.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you haven't read Knox County 1 yet, he introduces the character, but we really don't know much about him. He works for the mob, and he looks like a mummy, and he goes by Joe Mummy. So I guess we're looking forward to. Do you want to tease anything about the future stories with him?
Well, right now, after the first little thing in Knox County 1, basically Al Capone sent one of his henchwomen to go get Joe. Joe does he does little jobs for Al every once in a while, and Joe knows that when Al calls him, it's never for anything good. And Joe in general struggles with on morality and whether or not he's a good person, so he tends to think he's a good person that does bad things when he has to. Okay. So he's always struggling with that inner ear, tugging at it. But anyway, in the issue 2, right now he's on his way to go see Al. Al is. I looked up a lot of history on Al Capone, and at this time he actually lives in the Lexington Hotel in Chicago. So he's going to see Al at the Lexington Hotel, and we're going to see a little wild elevator ride up to the top floor. Even though he doesn't live on the top floor, for some reason Al wants to see him on the top floor, and Joe is struggling on whether or not he's going to come down fast or come down slow. So we'll see what happens.
Well, even I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah. I can only do so much in 4 pages, but I'm like I said, I might stretch it a little bit.
Cool.
But I'm really enjoying Joe. He was kind of a little throw in. I was thinking when I created Knox, I'm like, I set it up for 24 pages. I didn't know I was going to, necessarily kickstart it right away. I was thinking more, maybe we can get it into Antarctic Press and they'll do it. But so I said, I got to have more pages if I want to put it on crowdfunding. And so it's just a little extra add-on. So, but I've kind of fallen in love with the character.
So yeah, so this new Mobster Graveyard story we're doing, if you read the original, we just kind of introduce some of the main characters and the concept. The original does tell a complete story, but it doesn't. But it's also a setup for the universe. It's not like the end of the story. We got really good reception. It got really good reviews. People seem to really like it, but I won't get into the whole story. It's behind everything. It was just the timing of the release of the book. The sales numbers weren't really good. So there's an interest in seeing more of it by the fans, but since we didn't sell a ton of the first series, we're looking at doing kind of a soft reboot. It's not really a reboot, or it might be. It's basically what I'm doing is this story is going to take place before Mobster Graveyard #1 that we did with AP. And so I'm leaving it sort of open to an area where depending on the reception of this, we could either tie it into the existing miniseries, or we might do kind of a soft reboot where we just take parts of the original miniseries, keep those, and maybe up other parts. So either way, right now this will take place before that. It's going to have Ned Hollister in there, who's our major character through it, but it's also going to introduce a bunch of the new characters as well.
You sure it's Ned? It's not William, is it?
No, it's Ned.
is his last name Hollister
Hollister.
or what?
Remember when he always has the initials NH.
Yeah, yeah. I like to call him Holden. So
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
why. That may not be his name, but I like to call him
it
Holden.
actually is his legal name, or it was his legal name originally.
Yeah, at one time. So you'll have to read the next series of Mobster Graveyard. What's the title for that book? Do you have a title for it yet?
For this series, we're going to be calling it The Dead of Night.
The Dead of Night. I like that. I'd like to see that as a title by itself. I think that's an old Marvel title for their horrors.
Yeah, well, I come in with that title because if we could either brand it new or we could keep it like it could either be called Dead of Night or it could be Mobster Graveyard Dead of Night. We could do it either way.
Yeah. Well, when we pitched Frontier Graveyard to AP, I do recall that they were not too happy with the name, but me especially, I thought, how else could we explain that? And one of the names I think Ben Dunn came up with was West of Dead, and I still to this day think, man, that's a good name. That's a good name. I like Frontier
that was actually better, Frontier Graveyard.
Yeah.
Which ties into this, but we were talking to a Frontier Graveyard, and they were thinking about doing West for Dead of the original of the Frontier Graveyard portion. I don't remember if they proposed anything for Mobster Graveyard that was different.
No, they didn't. But
actually, I think that I honestly think that AP minded Frontier Graveyard. I think Ben just, for some reason, that title didn't jive with him.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like our little mess with Gangster Graveyard and Mobster Graveyard. We just had to change it. It had to be Mobster Graveyard over Gangster Graveyard. Just the negative connotations of gangster. We intended it to the 1930s types gangsters, not the thugs on the streets.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you see the book, you would know immediately what they mean by Gangster Graveyard. But if someone just says, "Hey, you should check out Gangster Graveyard," they're like, "Well, what is it?" It could mean
it's what pops in your mind when you hear the words. That's the whole thing. You can have a really good name, but if it makes people think of something else instead that's not so good, then that's not a good name.
Right.
But okay, I believe we're down to one of my favorite projects you're working on, Vampire Ninja Ono, and if you'd like to go into that, I'll see if I can find us some pictures to look at.
Sure. So this is a collaboration between myself, Ben Dunn, and Matthew Weldon. Ben basically wanted to, he had this Netflix series last year that came out, Warrior Nun. And he wanted to do some kind of follow-up to it. Now, Warrior Nun, while he is credited as the creator, and he is the creator of it, he no longer owns the rights to it. The rights are actually owned by Avatar Comics, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say.
I believe it is. I
think it's pretty sure it's Avatar. And so he gets credit for the Netflix series as far as creative properties, but he doesn't get the money, unfortunately. So but he still has good connections with Netflix. I mean, he deals directly with people that are over there. He was on the set of season 1 for a week. I mean, he just kind of behind the scenes stuff. They flew him over, they let him look around, and he got to meet the cast, watch him film a few scenes.
Yeah, I believe that was in Spain, wasn't it?
It is, or was, and I think they're going to do. I'm not sure, but I think they're going to fly him over for season 2 as well. Anyway, so he's like, well, I want to do something like this where, I have some control. So we talked, the idea was like, bad girls are hot right now. And so come up with a new bad girl title. So I was already working with Ben at the time. He wanted my help coming up with that. So we put our heads together and came up with this idea of Vampire Ninja Ono. It's sort of meant to be a little manga-ish, although the art, since we're using Matthew Weldon, his art's not manga-ish at all. It's more manga-ish and sort of the theme, not as much the look. But it's the idea that there's a ninja from ancient Japan who got turned into a vampire. Now, if you know anything about Japanese myth and legends, vampires are not a part of it. Vampire in Japan stories are actually a recent phenomenon. I think I read that the first time they ever appeared in Japanese literature is in the 1950s. If you're going back to ancient stuff, Japan has lots of supernatural lore, but they're not vampires. So what we're saying is that Ono was a Japanese character, a Japanese person who got infected by a European vampire. So we're going with the idea that vampires are from the West, but they got infected into the East. So she was a teenager when she got infected. Now she's got 300 something years old, but of course she's got the eternal youth. So she's got that classic bad girl look to her, and she's trying to. Well, I don't want to say too much about what her actual agenda is. The story. Let me just tell you what you'll see when you pick up the book. The story is following a young man named Alex, who got into an online relationship with someone he met. Who lives in Japan, and
those always work out, right?
Oh yeah, those are always great ideas. So he flies over to meet his new girlfriend, and when he gets there, things get really weird. Let me just leave it at that. He finds himself getting sucked into a world of the supernatural, and that's where Ono pops up. But the question is when Ono does pop up, is who is she and what is she after? She's a vampire, so that's not good, right? So is she really evil? Is she trying to kill Alex, or is she trying to help Alex? So I just going to kind of tease at that.
Yeah.
So I will say, want to give you a little tease as far as what was kind of I don't want to tease too much because I want it to be kind of a mystery, but we are going with this concept that there's monsters from the East and there's monsters from the West. And there's going to be, not in this story, the story is kind of a one shot just to kind of introduce the character, but you're going to see in future stories how the monsters from the East and the West clash. So basically going to be, I don't want to call it a war, but let's just say there's a conflict between the two groups. And Ono finds herself cut in the middle of that.
Gotcha.
Because she is East, she's Japanese, but she's also a vampire, which is of the West. So
yeah. I know that one of the things that got me is this is going to be released as a Kickstarter, I believe.
Yes, it'll be on Kickstarter. This will be run by Ben Dunn. So I'm involved as far as I am one of the creators, and I did write the story. But he is Ben is the main mastermind. He's heading this up through his campaign. Well, he said it will launch first week in July. Last I heard, we're still on schedule for that.
Gotcha. Well, Ben, he's always has campaigns up, so I'm sure he's trying to fit it in where he can. But Matthew was your artist, Matthew Weldon, and amazing artist. He's doing a cover for Knox County issue 2 right now. But when I saw this, you said, "Hey, can you edit it for me? Check it out, read it, all that good stuff." And I said, "Yeah, I really want to see what Matthew did with it." And so as I'm going along here, and I'm like, wow. Every page, like this is a splash page here, I believe.
Yes.
And what's happening in the picture is just it tells a story by itself. You could put no words on that, and you get what's happening. But Matthew, great talent. He did Punchline, which was distributed by Antarctic Press.
Which still is. Yeah, they're up to like issue 12 or 13, I think.
I think they're working on 13 right now. But he is an artist, and the other day we were online and we're talking about how it had a Blade Runner feel, and you said good, that's what you were thinking also, and I'm like, wow, that's I don't know, guys, watching this and seeing the pages, do you feel like it has the Blade Runner feel to it? I sure get that.
Well, visually, yes, not plot. I mean, if you're a fan of the Blade Runner movies and you read this, you're not going to get a Blade Runner story at all. It's nothing like that. But it does have this. The thing about Blade Runner, especially the original one, set in a gritty urban environment with a lot of Asian themes. Now, of course, it took place in Los Angeles, so it was not in Asia. In this case, the Asian themes are obvious because it's actually in Tokyo. The story takes place there, but it does that urban nightlife. Lots of low lighting, lots of neon kind of things like you see in Blade Runner. So what I was thinking more, not as much of the overall style being like Blade Runner, but when I told the colorist, I'm like, I really imagine it being lighted and colored a lot like a Blade Runner story.
Yeah. But it's amazing. Well, David, can you think of anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I guess just to reiterate, this will be available in July. Keep your eye out for it. Ben is going to be posting a lot of stuff on it. And this is also, as I mentioned earlier, going to be available in Horror Comics starting issue 7, and that is available in previews now for order. The previews, or sorry, the AP version is going to be black and white. So the pages Shannon showed you will be what you actually see in the book. The Kickstarter version that Ben is doing is going to have color. I don't know if he's doing color and black and white or just color for Kickstarter, but you will get the option of getting color with Kickstarter, but only with the Kickstarter campaign. Mm-hmm. And I guess just kind of go back over some of the other things we talked about. Thrilling's available now. Just went live. So we're calling this the Second Chance campaign. And Indiegogo was really our main push, but we did have people after the campaign was over, so they still wanted it, and we had not put it in demand. So we're like, okay, we'll make it available one more time. And some people, I can't speak to this. I guess some people really like one format versus the other. Some people like Kickstarter, but not Indiegogo, and vice versa. So we're just making it available to all the people. So if you didn't want to go to Indiegogo, but you'll bid it at Kickstarter, now's your chance.
Well, I know as well as me that you really don't pick sides anyway. I mean, in comics nowadays, you supposedly you got to be on this side or that side. Guess what? We go straight down the middle and we offer to everybody. We just want to create great comics, and that we get our satisfaction from that. So
exactly.
So so don't choose sides. Just be your own person and do what you want to do there. So, okay, David. And also, Knox is available on Kickstarter right now. Looking for a big push. We're in the spot where, it kind of slows down a little bit. Everyone's like, well, I've already given, or I'm going to give, the last week or whatever. Well, we still need that middle ground for people to come in and keep us on top of the analytics there. So we're at the top of the screen instead of the bottom of the screen. And same thing with Thrilling, just a nice steady flow of people, contributing. That's always good. But 2 great books, and as you can see, we're going to be offering a lot more books down the road. Between David and I, all we wanted to do from when we were kids was create comics. I still recall, when I first met David, he had me come over and we went to the church. His dad was a preacher there, and he was working really hard on a project he was doing. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm creating a comic, and he was using the copy machine and cutting and pasting.
The old church office in the early 90s, yeah.
The funny thing is I'm looking up here, and I have that original. This wasn't. I don't know that this was the original one you did, because I thought it was like all paper and cut up, but I think you actually sent this in to get printed, didn't you?
No, I actually did that on a copier. Now,
you did. That was it.
Yeah, the cover was actually offset printed because I wanted to use. Well, I couldn't afford to do a color cover, but I wanted color on it. I wanted a different stock because that's, if you can see, it's kind of that glossier style you'd see in a comic cover. But if you look at the inside, I mean, that's just copy paper. Funny thing is that there
if you like Beavis and Butthead, then you'll like this.
There weren't copiers back then. They could do comic book size. So what we did is we literally hand trim. Well, not hand. Of course, we had cutters, but we basically took the paper and trimmed it down ourselves, and then we had to frame we get the tray to just sit just so, and we put it just in there. We got it to work.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, if you're going to sit there and do that, as a teenager, and then you're going to go somewhere, because that's a lot harder to do than just sending the print file off to a company and letting them do it. I mean, that's working hard to do what you want to do. Right there.
Well, with the money I had, that was my option at the time. So yeah,
it still might be our option down the road. Who knows? But yeah, well, guys, I'm going to remind y'all once again, we need to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us build the channel, and be sure to like and share also. especially if you're watching this on Facebook Live. You know, come over to the YouTube channel and create you a little account. Come in and just subscribe, and then if you don't want to do YouTube, then don't ever do it again. But we need your help getting our numbers up. So David and I have a lot of projects, and just think of this: is if Simon and Schuster way back in the day could have did this online, and you were there at the beginning, Dave and I have so many stories. I have more stories in my head than I'll ever get to. It's just the way it is. Every day it's another idea. Every night I dream about another idea. So I got stories that will last for. I'm sure David does too. He's a creator. He's always going to create. And you put us two together, we're going to create some wild rides here. So like and subscribe and help us out. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go. Don't forget that we're going to have a giveaway, and I'll announce that tomorrow. But I really need y'all to start coming into the channel and subscribing if you can. I appreciate it. And David, thank you for being here.
Thanks for hosting again.
You're a true friend, and I can always rely on you. Maybe we can get
welcome.
Maybe we can get some other people in here and have just a party. I'd like to get Clint Stoker over here. I don't know that we could get Chuck. I don't know if he does this kind of thing. He's kind of old timey like me.
I did tell Clint about this. I hope he's watching out there. But yeah, it'd be cool to get him in on one of these.
It'd be a lot of fun. Anytime you get more than two people in here, it's gonna be great, because I love to talk. You may see some of my videos where I'm the only one in here and I'm stammering and going on, but guess what? You give me someone to talk to and I'll talk all night. I wanted to keep this video to about 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we're right at 1 hour and 31 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye, but I'll let everyone know about the giveaway tomorrow, and be sure to like and subscribe. And this is us going out. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you later.